it's time we can go for a question and answer. It was just a very inspiring session. We have heard about ideas how to evolve ourselves from collectors to nightlights to allies. And then we have heard about the importance of role models, the supporting and mentoring networks, and then also to have societal and organization to have the intentionality with accountability. So all of these are an importance of mentorship and sponsorship. So all of these are extremely excellent points. I really appreciate the speakers sharing their viewpoints and experiences with us. So we have a number of questions in the Q&A, but I guess, yeah, it might be difficult to go over all of them, but I remember earlier on, Suzanne mentioned something that she had some ideas about how to promote she said she could share it during the Q&A about how to
engage with HBCUs.
Right.
Yes,
Could you briefly comment on that and while I read through these other comments?
Sure, thank you. My thoughts are that we need to establish more direct relationships with HBCUs. One is in terms of recruiting and pipelines into our industry, but also collaborating on the design of curricula. Are they well aligned with the skills and the experiences? And I talked also, and Joan did as well, about some of the cultural experiences and the emotional intelligence, and what are the things that you really do need to be successful. I think also, as we talk about mentors, role models, support systems, I think we shouldn't ignore the fact that the faculty at HBCUs, graduate students at HBCUs may be very willing and interested in being part of different kinds of support networks that go beyond just their own colleges and universities. So I think this need to have stronger engagement with HBCUs. I mentioned the women's colleges as well. So again, it would be around mentoring and support systems, looking at some of the models that HBCUs use to mentor students. Students from HBCUs always come away talking about the fact that the faculty, the staff, have been very supportive, very concerned, very nurturing. It's very obvious. What are some of those models that maybe we can emulate? And then certainly in terms of thinking about curriculum development.
Thank you very much. I think I'm going to read one of the questions from the audience, and then I would like to ask probably David and also Joan to answer. This question is that as the field diversifies, is there advice for those who may be the first to arrive in efforts to diversify, particularly for women of color? And I think the talk by David earlier seemed to be leading towards that direction. So I would like to ask David to see if you could answer this question first.
I think Joan is probably better equipped to answer that question, but I'll start, and then I'm sure Joan and Susan can certainly fill in. Being the first, being the only, is of course by definition very lonely, and yet we need people to start the process, right? So we need the pioneers, we need the leaders, the system needs to celebrate that. So it isn't just on the person who might be adding some diversity to our organization, but all of us who belong to that organization have the responsibility to own this as well, that it isn't just on them to lead us, but for all of us. And certainly in higher education, one thing that I think we need to pay much more attention to is the idea of time. So we all come to a workshop like today and we hear some inspiring stuff and we get some great ideas. We read, we watch a video, we get some great ideas. And we have champions already throughout many organizations. But what we don't give ourselves is the time to actually figure out what we can do, not just what they can do, but what we can do for example, as a university, as a college, as a company. Time is one of these things which it shows what we have priorities, how we prioritize things. And so if we really care about this stuff, then it's important for the organization, not only the single person who is the only, but all of us, to set aside some other stuff that we do, and to put some time in terms of listening and reflecting, learning, and then eventually holding ourselves accountable. And I would just like us to really think about how to really make that happen.
Thank you very much. And John, please.
Thank you. It's interesting. I was in a session earlier today with my group of fellows, and one of the fellows was talking about being the first, and as though this would end. And my comment to him, not trying to discourage, but I said, your grandchildren are going to be the first. This was a Black male child psychiatrist with an addiction background who has a K, who's doing a fellowship in health policy. This is a one. I mean, he's this amazing gem. But we're going to continue to be first for a while. That's not over. And so a part of it for me is, and Dave is talking about what the institution can do and the responsibility of everybody in the institution. But I want to turn a little bit to the individuals who are first, and to build around yourselves a resource foundation. Some people call it posse or other things. I don't think of it just in terms of mentoring. I think in terms of support structures. The support structures that can enable you to get up and go to work the next day. The support structures that when people say stuff that make you just blow your mind, that you have somebody you can call and say, do you understand what just happened? The support structures that can say, no, you belong in there and you should go for that position because you are strong and you're capable. And I think all too often we look for those structures in our department or in our unit or right around us. And we need to look beyond that. We need to cross disciplines, we need to cross institutions. As I look at this Zoom screen, I think about Sheroes and Heroes. I think about the times when I have been with David or with Susan or with Lydia or with Gilda, and we have worked together, we have supported each other, we have done things together. You don't do it by yourself. And so, and there is no shame in it. It's actually how things get done. They get done through relationships and moving forward. And so I would start in that space. Don't be alone. Don't try to take it on alone. And as you're doing this, I always think in terms of it's the institution that ultimately has to change, not me. And you change institutions by working with other people.
Yeah. May I just add very quickly to what Joan is saying, and the reason that I brought up the Friends of Sarah as a model. These are students that are coming from a variety of the colleges and universities in the Boston area. And there's a group of women who have volunteered to just sort of be advisors and support systems. And so it's multidisciplinary. It cuts across the universities. It's just a broad support system. And as I said, the stories are really pretty horrific. Very, very quickly, one of the sessions that I was listening in and just trying to offer some of my own experience, there was a young woman from Brazil. She's at one of the top labs and had asked her PI for more interesting assignments. And he said to her, well, maybe you're just not cut out for this. Maybe you should become a nanny. Isn't that what most of the women from Brazil who come to this country do? I mean, the fact that he would even feel able to say this, but she could talk about this and cry about this in this group and then pick herself up and go back into that lab the next day.
And I just want to build on that. For those who may be earlier in your career listening, it doesn't end then. So we have these moments where you have to turn to other people and have those safe spaces to be vulnerable, to be able to say this hurts, and then to be able to get up and fight. It's something that continues. I would also say that in the same way, there are people who are not mentors, but rather dementors and tormentors. And that's what I would say Susan was just talking about, dementors and tormentors here. There are individuals that want to support, and that's where you look out. That's where you go to this sort of group. You go to the biomedical science careers program that Lydia and others have been involved with me, that actually provides mentors and advisors and supports and builds networks. And you go to places that are built in to connect you with others, with some of the shared experiences. You can learn from others in terms of how they have overcome parts of those experiences. But you can also have people that can help you get out of the toxic places. Because sometimes we try to fight to stay, and sometimes we need to go. I'm a big believer in how did I put it for someone one day who was toxic to me, and I explained to them that one day, sort of this one day I will be in charge and you will be fired. Like, it doesn't have to be this way forever. And so you don't have to be abused. You don't have to be mistreated. And there are places you can go and people you can talk to who can try to help.
I think a real question is, how do we scale those, and how do we help the people who need the support and people who are willing to help provide the support? How do we help them find one another?
I think it may be a nice topic that we can discuss in the plenary session. I really want to thank our distinguished and very, very wise panelists who are truly inspiring leaders to the minority group. And thank you very much again. And we will be back in a few minutes to have a nice plenary section. I'm sorry I cannot cover all these questions in the question and answer, but we will have time to address some of them. Thank you very much again. Thank you.